Croeso I bysgota Cymru. Welcome to Fishing in Wales.
Good morning, bore da. Here we are at Nine Oaks Fishery. So Nine Oaks is located just south of Aberaeron in West Wales. It's a fishery that's been around for decades, but largely reinvented over the last few years with the new owners, Graham and Michelle, who have done an amazing job of reinventing the place. They do have 3 coarse lakes and 3 trout lakes, but the focus today is going to be on the trout fishing front. It's a really cold morning. We had a bit of frost and stuff overnight, but we're hoping for a bit of action. So let's go and see what we can pull out. So we're going to set up before we head up to the first lake. I'm going to keep things really simple today. The stock density in these lakes is amazing. If anything, it's a bit overstocked, which is probably the right way to go nowadays. And especially if a beginner's going to turn up, you almost want not guaranteed sport, because nothing is guaranteed in this sport, but you do want to have their line pulled. So I'm actually going to keep things really simple today. You can more or less turn up and fish the way you want to fish, and there's a good chance you will get action throughout the day. I've got an intermediate in the bag. That's actually the fastest sinking line that I'm actually bringing with me today. Setup to begin with though, I'm just going to go with a full floating line. I'm going to keep things really simple. I've got a 10 foot for a 6 weight. Again, this place does lend itself very well to beginners. If you only have a river rod for trout fishing or grayling fishing, if that is as light as a 4 or 5 weight, bring that along. If you do have the heavier end of the spectrum, so say if you have been doing some sea trout fishing or salmon fishing, say it's a 10 foot for a 7 or an 8, 9 foot, doesn't really matter on the length front, just bring that along. It's a type of place you can, again, more or less turn up with what you want to fish with and still have some sport. So I'm starting off with a 10 foot 6 weight, full floating line. I can see us changing. Again, it's been really cold overnight. We had hard frost last night. I can see us changing throughout the day, but because of the hard frost last night, I envisage the fish being lethargic, and as a result, I don't think they're going to want much pulled. I don't think they're going to want things moving really fast, so I'm going to fish fairly static to begin with. I'm going to put a 9 foot tapered leader on. That is going to allow me to turn over if I'm indicator fishing, so that's obviously going to help the indicator to turn over, but also later on in the day if I'm fishing with dries and stuff, that's also going to help with fishing with the dries. So it's going to be really simple, floating line, 9 foot tapered leader. I'm then going to grease up, so muslin, whatever you've got at home. I'm going to muslin up the final 2 or 3 foot of the fly line and then my tapered leader. On the end of the tapered leader, I'm going to probably put a little tippet ring, leader ring, and then on the end of that, my tippet section. So my tippet section below the tippet ring, that's what enables me to change really quickly, but also enables me just to carry one outfit, one line. I can chop and change as the day dictates. But to begin with, again, tapered leader, some 8.8 pound leader. The reason I'm fishing relatively heavy is because of the stock density again. I'm probably going to fish with 2 flies. If I hook 2 fish, I don't want one snapping off and leaving a fly in a fish, even though I will be fishing barbless. I prefer to have that aspect covered. Prevention is better than cure. So I'm going 8.8. Again, to begin with, because it was so cold last night, I am going to be fishing static. So I'm going to be fishing with an indicator and then a couple of flies, so I'm not swinging the flies around. But let's start with that and see how we get on. So we're on the first of 3 lakes. They're not particularly big lakes, as you can see behind me, but you have, oh, hold on, we've got a take going on here. This lake actually has a stock density of around 300 trout. There's a mixture of blue trout, rainbow trout and brown trout in all 3 of the lakes. So again, we're going to begin on this lake, but what we're going to do then is attempt the 3 lake challenge, where we're hoping to catch fish from all 3 of the lakes throughout the day. The lakes, as you can see, are not particularly big, and what that means usually, oh, missed the first fish of the day. That's going to happen a lot, trust me. What you'll see about the size of the lake, or all 3 of the lakes are roughly the same size, but they're not particularly big lakes. On bigger lakes, the fish seek sanctuary more in the middle of the lakes where people can't cast at them. On these smaller lakes, they haven't got that luxury. So what you tend to find on these smaller lakes, that's another take, what you tend to find on these smaller lakes is that the fish look for a sanctuary around the edges rather than out in the middle, because again, you can easily reach the middle here. So all of the tree line I've got in front of me, there's actually a good depth just off the shelf in front of me. So the fish are looking for this sanctuary, you know, perhaps harder to reach places in underneath the trees rather than being out in the middle, especially if it's had a bit of fishing pressure. So what you may find at the start of the day, the fish may be more out in the middle, but certainly as they've had pressure throughout the day, they'll push into these edges. So we're going to start by exploring just the general water in front of me. You can see I'm only casting perhaps a rod length out. And again, that does lend itself to beginners. You do not have to cast far here. A lot of the time, if you are casting far, you're probably casting over most of the fish. So, you know, a rod length will catch you fish here. So there's a slight wind from left to right. Oh, there we go. No, missed him again. There's a slight wind from left to right. And what I'm hoping to do here is utilize that wind rather than trying to cast it in underneath those trees, which will end up with a tree looking like a Christmas tree. I'm just casting off the edge of them, and I'm hoping that breeze from left to right will actually bring the flies in underneath that structure. And oh, there you go. That's the first fish of the day. Oh, okay. That's a good fish too. Just there. Ooh. Oh. Okay, first fish of the day. Not a monster by any exaggeration, but welcome nonetheless. So there are 2 different stocks in here. There's some fish from Exmoor and there's some fish from Trout Fishery in North Wales. I know some smaller fish went in from the Trout Fishery, and I think this is one of them. But again, not complaining. It's first fish of the day. Great condition as well, in fairness. Really great condition. So it's a fin perfect little rainbow, a feisty little fella. A very welcome start to the day. So there's one. So in theory we can move on to the next lake, but let's try and get a few more before we do. So I was going to swap sides. Again, I'm just exploring the edges. And you can see I'm just doing a roll cast. You don't need to cast far. It's a little roll cast getting into these spots. I'm working the edges and the margins more than trying to cast a million miles. There you go, that's the cast. See if there's anything in this corner. So there's a lot of overhanging trees here, and then open bank here, obviously open bank over there. So again, if they are using a lot of the structure, this would be a very obvious place for them. And then the other place is almost straight opposite where I am now. There's another set of trees over there. So I'm just working these hard to access spots. Oh. know there's something in the area. A fish just topped. And again, just as the morning progresses, we are seeing a lot more action on the surface, so we may well be switching to hopefully switching to some dries. I can't see anything on the surface, I'll be honest, but that usually means that it's something incredibly small. But a lot of these fish are very opportunistic. You know, when you are fishing a bung, you'll see some bungs created nowadays literally with hooks in them, because the fish will be opportunistic and just go and check something out, check out the bung and actually eat the bung. There you go. So that fish literally ate the bung. Unfortunately, mine is a hookless bung. Oh, oh, yeah. So that fish was actually a little bit further out. Again, what I was saying about the start about fishing pressure. I literally have the lake to myself. And I don't think these fish, I think there's still plenty of fish out in the middle in addition to the fish that are in the edges. So I actually just had a cast further out into the middle for this one. And first cast, the fish took. And it's on the deeper of the two flies as well. Slightly better fish this time. Ooh. Sloppy netting. There you go. Well, that's fish number 2. I think we try for one more fish in this lake before we progress around to the other side of the lake and even to lake number 2. Slip it off. Perfect. So, as we were just chatting about, and you may have saw on the camera, when we were fishing there, we had at least 2, if not 3 different fish trying to take the bung. So, again, the fish are just telling us more or less what they want and what they, the levels they're feeding at. So let's not look a gift horse in the mouth. What we're going to do is we're going to switch on to the dries, and actually going to fish a couple of dries instead of fishing the eggs. Again, these fish are very opportunistic, so I think we just fish a couple of dries, just drift them around here. There's a very good chance we'll be able to pick up a fish or 2, or certainly that's the plan. Let's see. So again, we had those fish coming for the bung, so now we've set up a really simple dry fly leader just off the tip of that tapered leader. Just put a probably 6-7 foot length of fluorocarbon, and what we've done is I'm fishing. You're not going to find them around this time of year, especially in this cold weather, that is for sure. I've just got a foam daddy. That is more or less, again, these fish are just opportunistic rather than looking for anything in particular. It's just a pretty big food item. So I've got that on the point. And then above that, I've got something which they may well find this time of year. And that's a pretty small midge, just a midge CDC pattern. I've just put the daddy on the end just as a sighter, but again, fully expect fish to be taking that as well. So I'm rigging the changes. One they're expecting to find, the other not. So let's see which one they favour. Oh, do you see him underneath it? I can see his nose literally underneath the dry. No. He hadn't fully taken that, in fairness. Yeah. Oh, and gone. Gone. And he's done a right mare of my leader. So that actually came and took the midge on the dropper. And then a couple of jumps, and he's absolutely destroyed my leader. So that was really kind of him. But it just shows you we've switched to the dries and we're getting some action straight away here. So we're now on lake number 2 of 3. So I need to tick this one off next. As I thought, we have a lot more tree line here, and as a result we have a lot more shelter, so it's a lot calmer. As soon as we arrive, there's 2 or 3 fish topping, so we're going to stick with the dry fly for now. If need be, we can change around very easy. Another fish just turned to my side here, another fish there. So in theory, the dry fly should work fine. This is actually the clearer of the 3 lakes, so the fish can be spookier in this lake compared to the other 2. But again, a decent stock density. I think there's around 170 in this lake, so it's the lowest density. Probably the hardest lake of the 3, again due to the clarity as much as anything. But let's see if we can, with all those excuses, let's see if we can get one out. And I'm not going to, you can see me standing away from the bank here to begin with again. I'm not going to go right up to the edge because a lot of these fish are in very close. So the last thing I want to do, oh, there's a fish straight away. Well, that didn't take very long. Well, that plan worked. It's always nice when a plan does work. Ooh, stay in the water. A nice feisty little rainbow. It's a nice little rainbow, fully tailed again. Let's slip it back. Fight another day. Well, that was a good start. Literally first cast, and you saw I didn't even cast a rod length out from the side, I don't think. So I'm gonna just keep in the side again. I'm not going to go far out, and see if there's another one waiting for us. Oh, there we go. 2 casts, 2 fish. And again on the dry again. So that's perfect. So these are some of the smaller fish again. I think these are the ones that have come from Trousfynydd. And these are just the ones that Graham's put in to grow on, essentially. But they're fin perfect. And really good fun, regardless of their size. They're beautiful little fish, actually. So we've caught in the first lake, we've caught in the second lake, we're now progressing to the third lake. So in theory, the third lake should be the easiest of them all. It has the highest stock density. It carries a little bit more colour than lake number 2, probably similar to lake number 1. Which does put them a bit off guard as well. Let's go over and see if we can do it. So another great feature of Nine Oaks is if you do have any mobility issues, the car park is literally about 5 meters or so away from the nearest trout lake and from the nearest coarse lake. So very, very easy to access. Even surrounding the lakes, you have beautiful gravel paths. So again, very, very easy to get around. So we've just arrived on lake number 3. There's a few fish rising. True to form, so we've caught on the dry fly on the first lake. We just came off the second lake where we were also catching on the dry fly. So let's persevere with the dry fly for the time being. Again, if I was probably looking for numbers, I would probably stick with a bung. As I said at the start of the day, the nice thing about Nine Oaks is you can almost fish as you want to fish rather than having to do this or having to do that. So for the time being, we're going to stick with the dry. So let's see how we get on. You can see I'm starting back from the bank again. I'm not going to just automatically go into the edge because again it does drop off and a lot of these fish do patrol the edges. So if there are fish immediately in front of me, I don't want to just push them straight out. Let's try and catch one rather than having to reach further out for those fish. Yeah, that was a nice fish. That was a nice fish. Definitely better stamp of fish showing on the dries here. Just need them to show on my dries. Ooh, okay, he's not going to be far off. Let's see if he comes in on mine. Yeah, there we go. On the point. Nice. Well, that's the 3-lake challenge finished with, and all 3 on a dry fly, which has been really, really nice, especially with freezing temperatures last night, freezing wind chill factor at the moment as well. So didn't expect much on dries today, in fairness, but no, there's been enough interest to keep us persevering with the dries. And again, we've completed all 3 lakes with a dry fly. So really nice little fish from the 3rd lake here. Again, a cracking rainbow, fully finned. All good, all good. It's got a bit cold, so we're gonna make use of the facilities here at Nine Oaks. It's an amazing place, in fairness. Free tea and coffee, even some biscuits if you ask Graham nicely. But yeah, we're going to go down, warm up, and then probably come around. May not do the 3 lakes again, but certainly come back and have some more sport this afternoon, hopefully. So we've just come back to have a quick spot of lunch, but also to warm up, especially with this cold wind at the moment. What I have to point out is the amazing facilities here at Nine Oaks. You have the tea and coffee making facilities in the room behind me. Also table and chair and stuff in there just to relax. You also have the toilet facilities behind me on my left, but also they have loan equipment. So a lot of loan equipment in terms of fly fishing, in terms of coarse fishing. They have bait on site, so you can literally just turn up having never fished before in your life, and this is a perfect place to do that. And they can supply all the equipment stuff for you. Now, if you wanted to make it an extended stay, you also have 2 cottages, but also a couple of caravans. So if you wanted to make an extended stay, long weekend, whatever, perfect place to do so, especially if you're going to do some tourist activities outside of the fishing. Abereyron is literally just a couple of miles away. New Quay, 4 or 5 miles away as well. So actually a perfect tourist location as well. From the fishing perspective, stick to the cooler months really on the trout fishing front. But of course, conversely, the coarse fishing side can do really well in the summer months. So if you're specifically looking at some of the coarse fishing aspects, Nine Oaks is the place to come. So we're filled up and warmed up. So we're going to go back out for essentially the second half of the day in the afternoon session. And let's see if we can winkle another couple of fish out and see if we can find some of the bigger fish in the process. Seems to be a few fish just working this corner over here, this bay. It's also about the only section at the moment that's got some flat calm, which probably suits them from a surface feeding perspective. Fish just turned to the right of my flies there. See if he's going to drift into the bay. So I've just been fishing right close in the edge. We saw when we were fishing at the start of the day straight opposite us, we could see quite a few fish just working this dark little corner over here. So just drifted over again, probably not even a rod length out from the edge, and bang, I'm actually back on the indicator, back on the bung now. Had a couple of takes and then this one which decided to stick. So I think with this sun maybe it's put them off the top a little bit, but yeah, I think persevere with this for the time being and hopefully get a few more fish in the net. Another fish to the net. That one's a bit further out, more in the middle there, and in fairness, another pristine fish. Just really impressed with the tails of the fish today, if nothing else. Just good full tails on these fish, and fat as well. Not much better, but a bit better maybe. I think it might be a blue. Or is it not? Maybe. It's a nice chunky fish regardless. So again, I'm just going to keep it in the net, get to the fly, quick turn, out comes the fly. Another nice fish. Just give it a breather in the net. You'll see like this one's turned over, ready to swim off straight away. So I'm just going to let it go over the lip of the net and away it goes back into the depths. So we've had an excellent day here at Nine Oaks. From the action's really been from start to finish. The fish were a bit more lethargic this morning. We had to ring the changes. Then as the day's gone on, you could have literally just fished almost from the point of arrival to point of departure. We could have fished dry fly throughout the day. Amazing place, amazing value for money. If you consider it's only £20 a day. That includes the taking of your first fish and unlimited catch and release thereafter. Graham and Michelle, the owners here as well, really want to encourage the youth of tomorrow to get into the sport and enjoy the sport. With that in mind, if you're aged 12 or under, it literally only costs you £10 a day. So amazing place, amazing value for money. Do come and support them. Do come and check it out.
Discover fishing in Wales.